Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. Join us, Eric Guise and Nick Johnson, as we dive into today's best EdTech tools, tips, and practices. We do the research so you can teach your class. Remember to follow us on social media like Instagram, X, or Facebook by looking for the handle at EdTech Throwdown. Now please enjoy the show.
Welcome to the EdTech Throwdown. This is episode 161 called the EdTech Throwdown AI Edition. In this episode, we'll share our famous EdTech Throwdown where Guise and I compete for AI EdTech glory. Who has the better tools? Listen in and decide for yourself. This is another episode you don't want to miss. Check it out.
All right, so we're here for episode 161. This is by far, my favorite thing that we do. It's called the EdTech Throwdown. And the EdTech Throwdown is just that. We're going to give you a slew of EdTech tools. I'm going to go against Nick, a mano el mano. I think I got him. Nick, you excited for this?
Yep, I'm very excited. It's a lot of fun. We tested this out for the first time in real life a couple weeks ago, and I think it went over pretty well. This was at a conference, one of our favorite ones to do, and I'm always a little bit nervous with AI, especially at an EdTech type conference like the one we were at, because there's just so much out there, and people have, I don't know, it's divisive, and I don't want to show people tools that they already know. I was a little bit scared to kind of do this version of the throwdown, but I think it went over really well. I think that one of the things that helps is that we always, from the top, and you'll hear us say this later too, but it's worth mentioning now, we always kind of let people know that the point of it is not to say that you should be using all of the tools that we're about to share. It's just about finding even just one new tool that you like or you have not heard of before. So that always, I think, helps kind of let people know the purpose of the EdTech Throwdown.
Yeah, so today in this episode, we're going to basically give you a sneak peek into one of our throwdowns that we record for our virtual audience. And this is the rehearsal before we do it live. So you're going to pretty much get what you get out of our, in-person throwdown, minus a little bit of banter, because it's hard to do that when we're both talking, into a mic. But we'll take a brief second just to pause and hear from our friends over at Teach Better, and then we'll get into the EdTech Throwdown.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. You can find out more at teachbetter.com/podcasts. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, so we are back to officially start the EdTech Throwdown AI edition. For all of our podcast listeners, this is going to be a little bit strange because you're going to hear us do things like introduce ourselves, which isn't going to make any sense because if you're listening to us, of course, you already know who we are. So it's just sort of going to be a different take on the typical podcast episode.
All right, let's do it.
All right, everybody, welcome to the EdTech Throwdown AI edition. This is AI tools, tips, and tricks. You can see there's a bit.ly link on the screen there, bit.ly/AI 2024 Throwdown. That'll give you access to the slide deck we are about to go through. Right off the top, a little bit about who we are. My name is Nick Johnson. That is Eric Guise. We're both science teachers. I teach chem. Eric has taught biology and continues to from year to year, depending what's going on. We're both tech coaches. Guise more on the media specialist side. I spend half of my day doing tech coaching. We're both podcasters, of course, with a podcast called the EdTech Throwdown Podcast. And if you've seen us before, you might remember the name Got Teched, which is what we are formerly were. We did a recent rebrand of the show. So the EdTech Throwdown now is also the podcast in addition to the very session that you are listening to. And there's all of our social information if that's something you're interested in as well. So, right off the top with most of our presentations, we like to let our attendees and listeners know that, we are we are EdTech guys. We believe in educational technology. We think it can bring a lot to the classroom, but we also know that EdTech is not a silver bullet. It is not going to be the thing that, fixes your classroom or makes your classroom amazing. It can help with that. We're well aware that there is no replacement for, just good teaching and building relationships with students and all that stuff that we try to do just as human beings that are teachers. We just think that ed tech can help support the things that are already happening in ways that just wouldn't be possible without the ed tech. So keep that in mind as we get into this. And that brings up what this session even is. So it's called the EdTech Throwdown, which kind of hints at what you're about to see, because it is a head-to-head battle between Guise and myself, and we are trying to see who has put together the best list of EdTech tools. That's the point. In the live presentation of this session, you would be voting live and we reveal the results live. That's not exactly how this recorded version is going to work, but you can still be prepared to vote. And mostly we just want to see what everybody thinks, if I have the better tools or if Geist does. I think for this one we picked 7 apiece. They're all AI themed, and that's essentially how it goes. What did I miss there to introduce this whole thing?
I don't think you missed anything other than the fact that over the last 5 to 6, I think I'm edging you out like 5 to 1. I mean, I think that's kind of where we are right now. So I'm going to try to keep that momentum going. Nick, do you mind if I just get us going into this throwdown?
Yeah, let's kick it off here.
All right. So he didn't argue with me, so it must be true. So here we go. My first one is Magic School. This one is taking the educational stage by storm. I mean, it's such an awesome tool. It's a collection of AI tools that are going to help teachers get their time back. What I mean by that is I'm in my 18th year, 19th year, 18th, 19th, tomato, but I'm out there, I've been around for a little bit. I'm seasoned, I should say. And at the beginning of my career, we didn't have a lot of this, watch videos for PD, make sure that you're learning about this, checking certain state check boxes along the way. And that stuff takes time. And what it takes away is it takes away from our planning time and our creativity time and trying to stay current on new practices. But we could get some of that time back by using Magic School. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click off into Magic School. Here is the dashboard. So you could see that there are a lot of really catchy tools here. Here are some of my favorites that are up at the top that I starred. The rubric generator. Creating rubrics is tedious. It's super tedious, super time consuming. So I allow AI to do it and they'll get me started, I should say. And then I go back and I make changes. For me, in my professional activities, I have a 90-10 rule. So lesson plans, rubric generation, things like that. I will allow the AI to do 90% of it, and then I go in and personalize it to make sure that it's fitting the needs of my students or my audience. So there are so many different tools here. If you go down, you can see some of these. YouTube video summarizer. They're starting to get a little bit administrative with teacher observations. I know that there's a lot of people that's going to push back for things like that and recommendations, but I'm personally okay with teacher observations as long as the observer has some personalized feedback in there. I see great use for that in here, but there are a lot of different tools. If I go into rubric generator, you can kind of see the fields that you have to do. Ninth grade here, you could do the student should be able to know the parts of the photosynthetic equation is what I'm going to get to. All right, so there we go. We can put photosynthesis here. Next time I'm going to pick a topic that's less, lengthy. And you could add whatever you want here. I'm going to make it a 5-point scale. Let's just hit generate. Let's see here. Discuss and label parts of the photosynthetic equation. All right, usually I do voice to typing because I am very slow at typing, as you can see. And you can see this generating a rubric for me there, which is pretty cool. I can also add some other stuff as we go, but here I only asked it to identify the parts. And for this mini lesson, this works perfectly for me. All right, so I would just copy and paste this over and we would go at it. But this is Rubric Generator. Magic School has a lot of awesome tools. It's going to save you time. It's going to give you that time back so you can be more creative with your lessons.
Yeah, the problem with Magic School, well, not problem. The problem for me trying to compete against you with Magic School is just how much is there. I mean, the menu of things that you can create with AI is honestly astounding. And in our prior episode, one of our prior episodes of the podcast where we talked about AI tools, that there's a bunch of them that came up that do that. It's just like this sort of smorgasbord of things that AI can create for you as a teacher. But man, Magic School just has so many, and it's such an amazing resource to have.
Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorites. It's like I said, it saves teachers a lot of time and allows us to use that time to focus on other things that we need to do to provide our students with high quality resources and engaging lessons. So my next one is called Sorcerer. This is an AI assistant. It's made by Antimatter Systems. If you go to Twitter, you can check out more there. They also have this awesome antimatter free meme generator for educators. It's an assessment tool. So go check this out. I love their take on memes and how to use it in education. So if you click on the resource, you could go ahead and use that. I'm going to show you, let me make this a little bigger so everyone can see, but I'm going to show you my sorcerer that I made on Charles Darwin. So what I did is I picked 3 different images here and I attached them to different things that I want my students to know about Charles Darwin. So if we go here, you can test your understanding, and I'm just going to put Charles Darwin was a naturalist. And what it's going to do is it's going to basically take what I know and it's going to give me a feedback score. So it's going to take a little bit of time here. Usually it's not this long. I'm guessing it's probably because I have a whole bunch of programs up and running. So let's start with early life Charles Darwin. Can you describe his upbringing, education, and influences? So Darwin wanted to be a doctor. So we know that. So we'll put that in there. And let's see if it gives us any type of an update score. Usually what it does is it's going to tell you, there we go. There's our score. You're right. He initially studied medicine, but soon found his true passion elsewhere. Yes, that's true. If we wanted to be more specific, he couldn't handle the sight of blood. So he decided to go in to be a clergy member. And he studied that and eventually got on the HMS Beagle as a naturalist. But as you can see, this is just a bot that allows you to give your students some feedback right away because it knows everything, well, a lot of the things about Charles Darwin. And basically how I would use this in my classroom is I would give them a person or a topic to study. And then I would say, you have to get an 80%. An 80 score in order to move on to the next one. And I would just use this as an introductory lesson or maybe something after that initial introductory lesson just to make sure that they know what they're talking about. And just say, hey, just talk to the bot and get up to an 80% and then screen capture it and turn in that screen capture and we're good to go there. So that's how I would use Sorcerer.
Isn't it cool that like we're talking now about the introductions to lessons literally are your students each individually having a conversation with an AI bot to learn about Charles Darwin. Not that that should be the way we do it all the time from this point forward in education. Like obviously you want to get the kids talking to each other and with you, but it's just so neat that is an option to provide that background info. And I love the mastery score that Sorcerer does there.
Yeah, it makes it unique compared to other AI assistants or AI chatbots. I will say that I have about 14 different programs running now just to do this recording. So I've never had Sorcerer be that slow. So I'm just giving a shout out there to Sorcerer because, it's just an awesome tool. It's still new, it's improving. And, I really like Sorcerer and I highly recommend it. I'll get into my next one now, which is Text Blaze. This is another one of my favorites. This helps me so much as a tech coach. This helps me so much as a teacher as well. There's so many practical uses of this. I do have a video that I put onto YouTube. Each one of our slides has a video, at least most of them do, that we put together to walk you through how to use these tools. I should mention that. And in the video that's connected here, I give you like 10 different ways that you can use Text Blaze as an educator, as an administrator, as a parent, so on and so forth. So check that out. Text Blaze is a Chrome extension. So if you look up at the top of my screen here, this is the Text Blaze little icon. When you click on that, what it will do is it will list all these little snippets. So if we think of canned comments, that's just an easy way to understand this. You can make these predetermined canned comments with shortcuts, and you could put it anywhere you can add text. What I'm going to do is go to the dashboard real quick so you can see the dashboard. So right here is just a blank space where we can create a snippet that we're going to use later. So picture yourself as a tech coach and your teachers are asking you, do you have a one pager on how to use insert any type of ed tech tool here? What I'm going to do is kind of tell you about a situation we have every year at the end of the year when teachers are retiring, seniors are moving on to college, and they want to keep stuff in their Google Drive and they want to move it somewhere else. Well, it's called Google Takeout. And I'm going to show you what that template looks like. So I just clicked on it over here. Notice you can add hyperlinks, you can format it, and it will keep this format. All right. So simply, all that we're going to do here is we are going to take this, you know, this shortcut here and we add it to any text blank. And if you can't remember your shortcuts, don't worry about it. So I'll bring up this real quick. This is just an example Google Doc that we keep handy. It's just there. It's something that ChatGPT created. We just use it from time to time. So let's say that we have this and this is any type of blank and I wanted to leave a comment here. I can simply just go click on the Text Blaze icon and go here and basically click any of these. Okay, any of these, and it's just going to go right in there. So here's how to clear your cache. If I can't remember that, I just hit the down arrow here, and guess what? It's going right in there. And I could use that as a comment. I could have done that for the Google Takeout or anything, but it's in the comment. You could also put it in, like I said, anywhere where you have a blank typing space. So I go here. Let's say that I want to do printing request. Boom. We put it in there and it's going to go right in there. You could do it in your email. You could do it wherever you want. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those so they aren't in there for later. But that is Text Blaze, and it's an amazing tool that saves you so much time.
I like this for posting assignments that my students are going to complete because, every assignment that I post, I feel like I have to restate the guidelines. So for example, it's always like, this is an individual activity. That means you may not work with others, blah, blah, blah. And then they go on to describe just so there's never any questions when students are submitting work, like what was allowed and what wasn't allowed. I get really sick of typing that stuff out. But with Text Blaze, I just set up these little shortcut keys and I just type / whatever the code I have set is, and whatever description I need for this type of assignment pops in automatically. That's probably my favorite one of your tools today, just for how much time it has saved me.
I'll tell you what, if you keep all these compliments up, I'm pretty sure I might get your vote too. I'm just saying.
Could be.
Let's go on to the next one. And it's called There's an AI for That. And this is an AI aggregator. So it's a whole bunch of different AI tools put into one place. Not all of these are educational, but I do love this site. All right. So basically what you can do is you could go here and you can look at all the different AI tools that have been launched. Now, it's kind of daunting at times because there's so many of them, but you could search and kind of weed them down by different search areas. You have some over here, you have some over here. So if I just wanted to see the Google Chrome ones, I could go in there, take a look by when they were released. So it's pretty cool. And this is where I go if there's a certain specific functionality that I need for an AI. I go here and you just type it over here into the search area. So this is called There's an AI for That. It's Taft, TAAFT for short. I like to bring this one into the mix just because there are some teachers that want to go outside of just the prescribed stuff that teachers have to do, like lesson plans and things like that. They want to go be creative and type in prompts for images and specific needs that they may have, and they can do that and find that right tool for what they're working with. There's an AI for that.
That's cool. That was a little bit of a curveball. I wasn't ready for there's an AI for that. That's a good find. So this is not just education tools, correct? I saw this would be like any AI tool out there in education is going to be included amongst that.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably type in like a specific diet and a grocery list that you need, and it will
Right.
give you meals and that. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do here. There are a lot of education tools in there, but yeah, there's other things too. There's a lot of business tools that I like in there. Like if you want to make a business plan, they have an AI tool for that. If you want to try to look at a map and scale it or do something with maps, you could probably type it in and there's an AI tool for that. And if there's not an AI tool for that, there's a place to recommend that there's an AI tool for that. And they will pick that up as well.
Very nice.
All right, so let's get into my next one, which is, I believe it's Eduade. Eduade is right on the same lines of Magic School for education. It is also a productivity. That's what I classified it at. It does a lot of the same things that Magic School does, but it does it a little bit different. The organization is a little different than what Magic School is. So in this, you're starting with that unit plan and you're building outward. So we could start with a lesson seed, which is just a lesson outline. And after you get done with that outline, you could go in, click a specific part of the lesson. And maybe what you want to do is independent practice there. So you would go over to independent practice and you would pick like a claims evidence reasoning piece. Right? You go down to another part of the lesson plan. Maybe you want to gamify something. So you could have a word search or this or that or bingo or whatever, and you could add that to it. So it's kind of like using all these tools a la carte and building it on top of one another. You could start with a unit lesson plan, like for the whole unit, and then go in and do individual lessons. And after you get done with that, each lesson, you could come up with a different type of activity. Here's cooperative learning, project-based learning. You could throw in for lesson 3. All right. Then lesson 4, you come into escape the room and you do a Jeopardy style review game. All right. Something like that. And then at the end, you could just copy and paste it into a Google Doc or whatever you might want to do. So this one's a little bit different. I loved starting with the unit plan, filling that out, and then breaking it down. Now, once I get all that stuff completed, I like to go back in and then personalize it. If I know I have visual learners more so than, lecture learners or reading learners, I'm going to tailor my lessons to a more visually appealing lesson. And I'm going to go in and make sure that I'm bringing in student interests into my lessons. And that's where the personalization comes in. So once you get everything done, you go in, personalize it, you tailor it to your students, and you keep going. So that's part of the content generation. All right. Also is a teaching assistant, which will allow you to do stuff to planning, newsletters, report card comments, all that good stuff. All right. There's a feedback bot. So you can type in or copy and paste in student work and have it give you feedback that you can then give back to the students. There's a chat bot built in there, and they have an assessment builder in there, different types of questions. And then you could go check your history, everything that you build out. This is our EdTech Throwdown account, so I don't really create too much in this account. Most of my stuff is in my professional account, so you won't see anything in there. But if you did generate something in there, it would be there. And this is eduaid.ai.
Really like EduAid, but it's hard for it to compete, I think, against Magic School, because I don't believe there's quite as many things, although there's a lot too, but I don't know. I think Magic School still has more things, like different types of products that you can make in it. I just like the look of EduAid a little bit better. It's a little bit more, I don't know if professional is the word, but it doesn't matter, because both of these tools just have so much excellent stuff. I think it's worth teachers knowing about both Magic School and EduAid as spots where you can do a lot of this.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this kind of fits really our mold of our podcast, because we present and research tools that do the same thing all the time. All right. And the reason why we present those to the audience is because if they both do it extremely well, basically we want to give our listeners, audience, whatever you want to. We don't have an official word for our audience members. Throwdownians. There you go. They're Throwdownians. But if you want to give our Throwdownians options, because we're all different, we all prefer things a different way, you know, I think they both do things extremely well. It's just based on preference of how you like to be organized. Me personally, if I'm going for just a one item, that I want to work on, I'm probably going over to Magic School. If I want to tie a whole unit lesson, I'm probably going over to EduAid, because it's just going to keep stacking your elements there, and you can work with them within one platform. So you could do this for multiple lessons and stack them on top of each other. So I love them both. It would be hard for me to choose between the two. But if I'm just doing a one-stop shop, I'm going over to Magic School. If I'm working within a whole unit, I'm going over to EduAid, and that's just how it is. I don't think either one's. I think they're both quality tools, which teachers should have no reluctance to use. All right, so let's go into my next one. This one I'm super excited about. It's called notebooklm.google. This is one that's in the testing phase for. It's called the experimental phase for Google. I don't know if they just don't use beta, but it's the experimental phase. And this is called Notebook. It allows teachers and potentially students, but it's not going to work on your education account, because most schools have like the experimental tools turned off just for, reasons that, it's still claiming to be a work in progress. So you can use it on your professional account or your personal account, just not for most schools. It's probably not going to work, but I have a feeling that it will work in time. Let's go into the notebook. This is what the dashboard looks like. I'm going to blow it up a little bit for you there. All right. So basically, there are some example notebooks that you can take a look at. You could create a new project. It's pretty easy. I'm going to go into WW2. This is one that I made already. Over on the left, you could add as many resources as you want. These are articles that I took from websites that I trust, and I cleaned them up using print-friendly PDF just so all the pictures are out, because I don't need the pictures for this. And what I'm doing here is I'm going to type in things that I want to know about all those resources. So if I wanted to know, for example, list causes of the war. So if I just hit list causes of the war, what it's going to do is it's going to take that and it's going to comb through these three resources I have over here. And then eventually, what it's going to do is give me a list of the causes. All right. It's going to give me a notes list. From there, I can pin it up to my saved notes and we could work with it. One thing I want to show you here is the 10 citations. So, in 10 instances across these three resources, it came up with one of these causes. And then you can click on the different ones and it will show you exactly within the resource and which resource it was that it got the information. So I like this a lot. I'm thinking about in a class, if I'm teaching students how to write a research paper, I might want to chunk it and not make them do a full blown one at the beginning. So maybe I give them resources that I want them to use. From there, they get to ask the questions and it shows them good things that you could pull out of these resources. So this one is called Notebook LM. Super excited about this one. And I think it's probably a game winner at the end of this.
I call that extreme research. That is like the most researchy research you could ever do in the shortest amount of time. It's really incredible how it categorizes them like that, and you can see how many times a specific fact came up in which article, and then go read that thing with just one click. It's so cool. And it's the type of thing that when we get used to researching that way, we're going to look back on the way research has been done in the past and say, how was it even possible before? Because of how extensive or just how easy Notebook LM and other things like it are going to make that whole process.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. And it's funny because as you said that, I thought of an example that I gave to one of my sons. We were having a conversation about how mail is delivered. We talked about a carrier pigeon. So the way that we used to do research, maybe that's kind of like the carrier pigeon. And we're now starting to get into these, planes and trains and automobiles to deliver our mail. Maybe there's something better out there that we just don't know yet. I don't know. Maybe someone's working on that. But
Yeah.
Notebook LM, solid tool. I'm going to get into my last one here, which is Perplexity. This is another app. I really like it's an extension. It's not an app, it's an extension. But I really like this one because it's like you have a research assistant or, an assistant with you on every page. All right. So Perplexity, if you go up here, it looks like this box right here. I believe that's like blue. It could be green. I'm not sure because I am colorblind, but there it is. It's up there. So I'm going to go and I'm going to, go out to, I don't know. We could go anywhere. CNN. I'll go there. It's just because it's easy to type. It's 3 letters. All right. Let's go to US. See what's going on here. This is the terrible tragedy of the bridge coming down in Baltimore, getting hit by the freighter. All right. So say we wanted to use this as a current event. There's a lot of stuff on here. There's ads and all that good stuff or bad stuff, the way that you look at it. If I'm on here and I'm using Perplexity, I could ask Perplexity anything, like summarize the article. And I just go like that. And what it's going to do is it's going to stay on this page and it's going to summarize the article usually. But because there's so much, because I didn't sign into the CNN, it's not going to give me that. I wonder, let's go here instead. Let's go into, that's the dashboard. Let's go in here, see if I could use Perplexity within Google. I've never actually had that happen before. I will show you up here. You could go to summarize this page. You could go across the domain or all across the internet. Usually I use this when I'm teaching APA versus MLA format and I go to Purdue. I should have probably did that, but let's just summarize this page, see if it works. I'm unable. You know what? We're going to go to an actual website that I can access, which is Purdue OWL. All right, so we're in Purdue OWL. Here, let's go to the APA guide and let's just say Perplexity, how do you do an internal citation in APA style. All right, we do that. And what it's going to do is it's going to kick out how to do that. It finds it within all of this. All right. So Purdue Owl does a really good job at categorizing everything. But if I want to just get it very, very quickly, I can get that. And it's going to stay within this page. Okay. In text citations, the basics, it goes there. If you want, you could go through this domain, do the same thing. It's going to give me a little bit more here, or I could go out to the internet. And I wouldn't want to do that for this because I know everything I need is with the Purdue Owl Online Writing Lab. But this is Perplexity. Obviously, there are a couple of hiccups there, but that's probably more on my end just because I wasn't signed into CNN, but that's okay. All right, so that is my last one, and it is called Perplexity. So, Nick, go ahead and share your screen and give it a go.
All right. So my first one to kick it off is one of the more well-known tools we're going to feature today. Maybe only second to Magic School, perhaps, or I don't know. Diffit might beat Magic School. Regardless, it's so great. It's worth sharing. Diffit is a differentiation tool, the only one you'll ever need because of how well it does what it does. So here I am logged into the Diffit dashboard. You can see there's essentially three different ways you can input information. You can give it a topic, and then Diffit is going to generate the text on whatever topic you choose. You can put in a link to any article or any video that you want, or you can copy paste in some text. Just to save time, I'm going to go to my resources to show you one of these things that I created in the past. This is a reading passage. So I uploaded a link to this article. It pulls in this image automatically. And if you notice, you could adjust that image. It gives me the full text of the article at the top of this thing. And here's what I love about Diffit so much is beneath that reading is all the resources that it provides you, or really what eventually is going to go to the students. This includes a summary, vocabulary words that you can add to, edit, and mess around with, multiple choice questions with answers shown. Again, you can choose to add questions, and you can even choose to make them higher level questions if you wanted to. It's giving me 3 questions here as like the default short answer questions, open-ended questions. And again, you can edit these or choose to add more. Once you're done with this whole thing, you can export it to send to the students in a variety of different ways. If I click Get Student Activities, you'll see all of the different options for the ways that Diffit can export those questions so that I can then share them with students. And a lot of these things are typical styles of worksheet or reading strategies or writing strategies, but now it's going to automatically create these for the specific reading with those specific questions and prompts that I just put in. Another great thing about Diffit is Translate. All of these resources that I now just created that I can share with, 23 out of my 24 students, I can translate it into Spanish for my one student who is not a native English speaker. And now I can give them the exact same resources everybody else has in their language. You can also level these. So if you have students at a lower or higher reading level, you can adjust things up and down. That's kind of like the main goal of Diffit. But as you can see, they do just so much more than the typical reading leveling that comes with all of these resources. It's just an amazing tool, and it's one that I find is always worth mentioning just to make sure everybody actually knows about Diffit, because I think all teachers need to know about Diffit.
Yeah, I love Diffit. We've been following along with their journey since pretty much the beginning of their journey, I believe, or shortly thereafter. Adam and Vlad has done an amazing job at progressing that tool. I know what it started as, and I could tell you that it has, everything that it could do. It's just amazing where they started and where it's at now. And I love tools that keep advancing their practice and making things better for teachers. I see a bright future with that tool. One thing I will tell you, I'll give you a shout out right now and just let you know if they're at a conference, you'll know because of the, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like a lime greenish type color shirt and they hand out ice cream. So if you need ice cream, don't buy it for $12 there at the conference. Just go find Adam and Vlad in their cooler that says Diff It and get yourself some ice cream.
Yeah, if nothing else, you gotta love the ice cream, guys. Next up, I have Chat PDF. This is a really cool spin on a chatbot where instead of chatting with the bot and it's pulling information from its entire like database of language, it's only going to pull information from a PDF that you input. So this was a section of a textbook that I uploaded into Chat PDF. And over here, you can see is me chatting with that PDF. I was showing this as an example of how to very quickly and simply write questions for students. So I had it write 10 open-ended questions, and it gives me those 10 open-ended questions specifically on this article. I went on to ask like some specific content-based questions and generating discussion questions. Can you add two more that are more complex, right? This is essentially Chat GPT, but now all only relating to the content that I want. And that's a powerful thing to know because a lot of teachers say they don't like ChatGPT because they don't know where it's getting information from. A lot of the information is just flat out wrong, and you would have no way to know that for sure. And this avoids that because it is only pulling information from the source, from the PDF that you give it. So I find Chat PDF is a powerful tool, especially for those that are a little more hesitant to use some of this AI. It gives the user a little more of a feeling of control, I think is the way to say it.
Yeah, I think just having that safe space that especially if you're new or newer to using AI, I think that confined space that you have a little bit more control. I think that definitely will put some teachers' minds at ease. So ChatGPT or Chat PDF is
There you go.
there we go, got my right letters, is a fantastic ad on your behalf, but I am not condoning you winning this at
No,
all.
of course not. All right. So next up, we have not really an AI tool, but also, yeah, kind of an AI tool. That is Quizzes. Quizzes is the very well known assessment tool. And if you didn't know, this is why we're featuring it in our list today. If you did not know, Quizzes, maybe more than any of the other quizzing company, has embraced AI as part of their platform. So I'm going to show you how that works now. So here I am on my Quizzes dashboard. What you may or may not know is once you're here, if you wanted to make a quiz or a lesson or one of the other things that you can do, click on the left the create button. And of course, here's my two choices, quiz or lesson. I'm going to make a quiz, and you can see the middle option now says generate with AI. If I click that, it's going to give me 4 more options for the way that this quiz can be automatically generated from a document, right? So uploading maybe a PDF or something in my Google Drive. I can just give it a topic, say atomic structure, and it's going to make that quiz for me. I can put a link to a website or a link to a YouTube video. Those are my 2 personal favorites. And it's automatically going to generate that quiz for me. Now, just like with all things AI, you can't probably just use that quiz as it has been created right off the top. You're going to want to look through and make sure that it's all good information and that it fits, you and your class and is worded the way that you would want things to be worded. But as a starting point for a quiz, it's just such a huge time saver. I did this the other day for a review session. I used the document option where I imported a Google Doc. I think it was a Google Doc. I think that was a PDF, regardless of what it was, my study guide for a unit. And it just generated a bunch of questions that were already on the study guide, but automatically turned it into that quiz is format. And it just saved me, I don't know, it had probably hours of time knowing that this is out there. So I added this to my list today just to make sure that people who think they know quiz is give it a real good hard look because of this AI that it's incorporating. And I know just from speaking to this company and people that work there that they're going to continue to double down on the AI incorporation. So you can expect not only the things that I've shown you, But I would guess much more to come in the future. Does that sound correct to you?
Yeah, I think you did a nice job with that. And just like Diffit, as I was saying, they're embracing AI and they're bringing in all these positive changes that are either enhancing the student experience or they're making it easier for teachers. Couple of things, and the first thing is the accommodations piece that they just released. It's amazing. Like, and I believe they released IEP something or other accommodations in there together. I could be off. Maybe that's something coming. I don't know. But what I really like is without you actually uploading your IEP or saying that this kid has an IEP, if you roster your class or create a class with all your kids in there, and little Johnny, in his IEP, it says that he needs less choices in his multiple choice questions. Well, guess what? You could do that. You could set that setting for him so he automatically gets that. Everyone else gets 4, he gets 2, but no one knows because no one's seeing each other's screen. You could have it read aloud, things like that. So that was my first general comment about quizzes. But my other one is, quizzes is a lot more than just a quiz anymore. It's a lot more than just an assessment. So my bright idea, and I get these tangent ideas all the time, is we should use quizzes as word cloud to come up with all the different things that quizzes is, and then create a t-shirt that says quizzes is not just a quiz, and then have the word cloud around it. Just saying, Kyle, make it happen. I'll take one of those shirts, extra large. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a great idea. And just to piggyback what he's talking about, there's a whole other world of quizzes are lessons that I'm not going to get into. That could be its whole own show. But yeah, quizzes is so much more than that. And the AI stuff alone's worth it. So is my next one. It's called School AI. I'm a huge fan of School AI. If you want to envision a chatbot, but specifically a chatbot space that will only talk to you about a certain thing, or more to the point for my students, it will only talk to my students about a certain thing. That is School AI. Why would you need this, and what's an example? So I'm just going to show you one that I made. My chemistry students are going to do a project called Chemistry Connections, where they research the chemistry behind something, the chemistry that explains a topic of their choice. I usually use fireworks as an example. I can create a chatbot space where School AI will help chat with the kids individually so that they can figure out what their project is going to be. If I click on this one so that we can see it, and I think I have to go to invite, and I'll copy the invite link and then just pull it over into a new browser tab. So this is now the student experience, right? So I send this link to my students. They simply click it. Notice there's no sign-ins or nothing for them. And now School AI starts talking. Hello, welcome to Chemistry Connections activity. Let's explore how chemistry plays a role in different topics. What interests you? And how do you think chemistry is involved in that topic? Let's say little Eric Guise is responding to this, and he says, I like baseball. So we hit enter. And then School AI is going to think and respond and help guide little Eric figure out how chemistry is related to baseball. Now, the huge obvious benefit of this is that this is often something that I would have to do one-on-one with 24 kids throughout the day, which, if you're thinking about those numbers, is impossible because some kids just got left in the wayside and gave up trying to come to me for help. Now I can provide them this space that they all can start with, get at least some support, and then come to me for any of the details work afterwards, or at least just to bounce the ideas off of that they came up with here. And if you are reading this, this is like legit stuff, right? Have you ever thought about the materials used to make baseballs, bats, or gloves? I don't even know if I would be able to come up with a good answer for how chemistry is related to baseball. But that's some real deal stuff, right? Like, what are they making? What type of wood are they making bats out of these days, and why? What about the insides of a baseball? What material is that? What properties does it have? How does that relate to what we learned in class? These are things that your students probably can't come up with on their own, and School AI can get them there without you being present. A lot of the educational AI tools are going to have something similar to this. As we're recording this now, this is still my favorite one, and that is School AI.
Yeah, this one's awesome, and that is an awesome topic. So little childhood Eric there picked a solid one. I would definitely look up the different types of metals that make up a bat and which one's more reactive to the baseball.
There you go.
So that would definitely be mine. That's an awesome one. This one's getting a lot of attention too by teachers. So it's getting the
Yeah.
attention, it's good.
Yeah, it's getting you're right. People are catching on to how awesome that can be. Here's another very popular AI tool. It's called Brisk. Brisk teaching is what it is, a lot of things. And that's maybe the upside and the downside of Brisk. I'm going to take you guys actually to one of our podcast episode show notes and show you in the bottom right-hand corner of this document is a little button. This button exists because I have the Brisk extension, and when I click it, you can see 4 of the main things that Brisk is going to do. One thing is feedback. So that means if this document contains student writing, Brisk can give feedback automatically. It can inspect that writing to see how likely AI was used in the creation of that piece. It can level the reading up or down to different reading levels you can also create other things from it. And you can see there's lots of different stuff here like quizzes, rubrics, translating it, DOKs, presentations. So it looks like it's going to turn it into Google Slides, all kinds of really great stuff. You can see very quickly how useful that can be all in one place with this Brisk extension. Another really cool thing with Brisk, and now I'm not sure this is going to work after seeing your CNN issues earlier, but if you are on a website, that little Brisk extension icon should also pop up here in the bottom right-hand corner, and it's going to allow you to create all those same types of resources from the information on the website. It's not working again, so I wonder if maybe CNN is blocking this kind of thing. That's strange because I tested it not long ago, but essentially, let me just go back. There's these create options, right? So all of these things that you're seeing here, if you can envision being on, say an article on whatever you're teaching, you can now have Brisk take all of the information from that article, choose the presentation option, and it's going to turn it into a presentation for you. It's going to bring it into Google Slides, so you can then go ahead and save yourself a bunch of the time in doing that on your own. So that is Brisk, a very popular AI tool for just the vast quantity of things that it can do.
Yeah, Brisk is another one of those that AI tools that teachers are talking about. So, I have used it very minimally up to this point, and it's just because, I went out of the biology classroom midway through the year. But if I have to go back in, I think that's a tool that I would like because I like how easily accessible it is, especially within the platforms that I work with when I'm teaching. So that is another solid one to check out.
Brisk is good for people like me that don't want to have a lot of extensions because it's just one extension that does all those different things. So maybe that's another reason to give it a look. I'm going to very quickly blast off my last 2 here. This one is called Gamma. Gamma is essentially an AI, I'll call it a presentation creator, although as you can see here, it's going to do web pages and documents as well. If you choose presentation and describe what you'd like it to make, we'll just run through a real quick sample here where I type in atomic structure. It's going to generate an outline of what each of the slides are going to be. What I like about it is how you can customize this by dragging these topics to different positions and different orders. You can change the amount of text or information from medium to brief to detailed. Essentially, it's giving you lots of customization features or options as you go through, including the themes, right? So this is a preview of the theme that it has chosen. If I don't like it, I can come over here and choose a different one. Finally, when I click generate, it's going to spit out the end result presentation. Of course, this is all AI generated, so I'm going to want to go through here and check it before I use it in class, but very professional looking, very appealing. They look nice. They look graphically designed, almost like a Canva presentation would be. So you can almost think about this as like an alternative to that Canva AI design feature. what you're going to do with this is kind of up to you, right? You can share it out. If you see in this top right hand corner, there's a share link. You can present this directly from Gamma, which actually is my most preferred option. And here's why. If you look over at the slide menu, one of the nice things about this is that it doesn't lock you in to like the typical 16:9 slide, right? It adjusts the sizes based on the information that's there. It's putting in a lot of information here because I selected detailed. So that's why you're seeing like so much stuff. But this is really cool, man. This is a very engaging looking presentation that I can use to start our discussion of this topic in class. And you can let your mind run wild with what this thing can do. But I think Gamma, it's just nice to know that there's another option out there for this automatic slide generation. And I really do like the stuff that this puts in. You can go ahead and edit or change any of these things. As I'm scrolling around, you can see this is all editable based on what you would like. So that is Gamma. And then to get to my last one before we wrap this up, it's called Goblin Tools. Goblin Tools is pretty neat for maybe teachers and just like being productive, maybe students who, have trouble with keeping track of tasks and task completion. What it's going to do, and there's lots of things Goblin Tools can do. I'll start with their magic to do, where it's essentially a to-do list, right? So it's a great way to stay organized, powerful skill to teach to students. Keep a to-do list. So if you do that to-do list on Magic Tools, like let's say one of the things I have to do over spring break is wash my car, right? It's going to add wash car to my to-do list, but it's also, if you click the little breakdown item button over here, it's going to break down washing the car into the steps that are required to wash the car. And it can even further break down those things. So like if I don't know what it means by gather car washing supplies, it can break that down and tell me exactly what those supplies are. This is very helpful, especially if there's something maybe that you don't know how to do. So that's the part I like for students. There's other fun stuff that's going to apply more to teachers, like their formalizer, which is if there's, sometimes you want to draft an email or a response to somebody that, I'll use the nice word that Goblin Tools does, is a little bit too spicy to actually send. You can type in your true thoughts here and have Goblin Tools turn it more professional, more polite, less snarky, all sorts of different variations. It also has a judging tool where you can paste in text and it's going to judge it, so it can let you know, like, maybe something that somebody emailed you offended you and you're like, how could you even question me on that? The judge feature is going to let you know, like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be so offended by that because I don't think the person really meant this. And there's other kind of fun little things here that you can do with Goblin Tools as well. I really like this just because it is more on the fun side of things that you can just keep in your back pocket for some of these strange little situations. And that is my last one. That is Goblin Tools. So we know that's a lot of information. Remember, the whole point is for you to just choose any one of these, right, that you think is going to work for you. And that means this presentation was a success. And that is our goal. Here's the recap in case you wanted to, go back and revisit any of the things that we just shared. Here's my 7 on the left, and here is Guise's 7 on the right.
Yeah, we have a voting bit.ly right there. Feel free to go ahead and fill that out. We'll take a look at it, and one of us will be glorified by our amazing victory. Probably me, and Nick will he'll try a new 7 tools for the next one.
We'll see.
It's funny. Whoever brags usually loses. So, Nick, well on your way to a victory. We do have a lot of videos there from our YouTube channel that you could check out. We're always adding new videos, especially when we're getting ready to do a throwdown. So make sure that you go over to the EdTech Throwdown YouTube channel. Check out some of those videos. Make sure that you go over to our website, EdTech Throwdown, and check out some of our new blogs. The my latest version of my favorite educational podcast. It's not just EdTech podcast. It's going to come out, and that will introduce you to over 60 different podcasts that I listen to regularly on my podcast player. And then finally, we are at the tail end right now of our EdTech Madness bracket. You could go check that out. So this is the starting bracket. Right now we are in the finals. It's Magic School versus Canva, but you could kind of follow along and see how many of those tools that you know. And as always, we want to thank you for watching this. This is very fun for us to do. Make sure that you follow along. You'll be able to see other EdTech Throwdowns because we like to record them and release them after we do them. So because none of our throwdowns are ever alike, we always change it up. And that's going to wrap up this presentation, and that's going to wrap up this episode of the EdTech Throwdown. Thanks for listening to the EdTech Throwdown. Do us a couple of favors. Subscribe to our podcast on any major podcast catcher such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Stitcher. Go over to YouTube, search the EdTech Throwdown, subscribe to the channel. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The show's handle is EdTech Throwdown. You can connect with Guise at Guise.tech, Nick at Nick.tech. You can write us an Apple Podcast review. You can tell your friends about www.edtechthrowdown.com. And lastly, go over and check out our friends over at the Teach Better Podcast Network, a network that we are so proudly involved with. Until next time, remember, go try some EdTech because we will do the research so you can teach your class.